let's start off with a question. What language or environment would you choose now if you had to teach a complete beginner how to program? So maybe let's start as Heikki or in the center there. So with you, what would be the language?
Well, I think that it depends on what it is the target of the learner. Does he or she wants to start the path to professionally coder, or is it just for fun? For the first part, I think that nowadays I think that the TypeScript would be a good option because it allows multiple different ways to program it as an object-oriented, functional, and so on. And it has a very large ecosystem and lots of good documentation. But for the fun part, I really think that the Clojure would be also an option for that because we have used that in Helsinki area for Clojure Bridge. Clojure Bridge is it taught Clojure for women, for total beginners, and it works quite nice. Before, if you don't have any previous learning about the programming, then the functional programming is just fine for the starters, I think.
Okay, so if we talk about Clojure, then let's go to Tatu. What would be your favorite language?
Surprisingly, I wouldn't say Clojure directly, but there's a difference between about what is actually simple versus what is familiar and comfortable. So I would start probably with just if they know nothing, then probably just Excel sheets or something like that, just to evaluate some expressions at the very beginning. And after that, there's probably any language that has an online REPL. So you can do Scheme, JavaScript, Python, everything that can be done with online in the browser, because you can just see that we won't want to do anything that has some complicated setup, or if you start with Java like many universities do, then you need to write this boilerplate with static void main, string args and stuff like that. So that's a bad way to start. So anything that you can get basically like a calculator style, so just an online REPL, any language will probably do.
Well, you mentioned the programming environment that I use a lot, so Excel. So what type of software can you write in Excel besides formulas? Or?
Well, many information systems start out as Excel sheets, so you'd be surprised how many, and I think that's still going to be the number one environment for years to come.
Okay, but let's go to Evgenia. So to the front-end world, or what would it be, React or that you would start with?
Surprisingly, I would start with C#. It's not front-end. I don't think that the front-end environment is a very welcoming environment for a newcomer to the development world. I have approached the answer to this question in a more like a structure sense. I would choose C# because it is a very well structured language. It's very readable. It makes sense when you just see it. Although it's not I don't know of any browser tool that you can use. It has a very fast onboarding, and the tool, the Visual Studio, is a very mature tool with a very good intelligence, easy to set up. I don't know, this would be my choice, I guess. Plus, the hireability is big. It's backed by large corporations, so it will be always there. So the new developer will start learning something that will actually use in the future. It's not just for educational purposes. It's hands-on, real programming, I guess.
Okay, so until now we have gone as many answers, as many we have different options for newcomers. So what about Joona? Would you choose another new or something that has been already mentioned here?
Yeah, actually I go to the new ones. There was good mentions about the REPL. It's really important that you can to the loop fast, so you can see what do you do. So I come from the family world, so I have 3 children, and I have already used them as a test subject. So I started with the Turtle Roy. It was decent, but I'm not sure if I can recommend it because I don't see the road. Where do I go from the beginning? Scratch is actually my weapon of choice here because it teaches you how to think the programming, but it is really easy to approach, and there is really interesting platforms where you can try out things. So I have used them, for example, with tablet with Scratch Junior to teach children how to tell stories with programming languages, and it has been fun. And also I have Lego Boost and Lego Mindstorm, so I can combine 2 of my favorite things with programming, so the Legos and robots, and we can do a bunch of stuff with my children there. So any 6-year-old could program Lego robots with Scratch. And I have also some IoT things which my children has programmed with the Scratch. Then if the beginner wants to go into more like a professional career, then maybe Python would be nice to start because it lacks all the boilerplate. You can start fast and learn things and use it in very many situations. And I think that it's one of those programming languages which will be useful in your toolbox in the future, despite what you are actually using. So you can always go with Python scripts for stuff like hacking or testing or manipulating data or something like that. You can test out things fast, even if you build your software with other languages. So that's my take.
Okay, so something new, or how many new ones you gave now? 5? What about Juho? Do you have a favorite choice here?
Well, I would say these have been excellent answers already, but I would say the most important thing is that you just start to do something and start to hack and start to learn. And you probably shouldn't think that like in a sense that I want to be a professional programmer, what should be my language, because I will be using that all the time. Because to be honest, you will go wrong with that. So the seasoned programmers usually talk really weird things about immutability and all that shit, but you really should first start like from the really basics, like variables, loops, and all that stuff. And I think JavaScript, Python will do just fine because they don't have like you can easily evaluate your program with those, and you really don't want to do like really fancy build systems type of stuff. And try to find a mentor for you who will sort of help you through with the thinking that when you have those variables set up and loops and how do you do that, show your code to someone and ask for feedback. I would say that will get you started.
Okay, good. Matti, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I share what everyone has said before, that it's important to start coding right away and have an easy environment. If I think about what I learned on myself in my childhood, that computers were much more accessible than today. For example, Commodore 64 starts right away in a basic interpreter that you can code right on, and you don't have to install anything. And we don't have anything like that today. You always have to install something to start coding on. And I think Tatu had a good point about using some kind of browser environment. That's really easy to get started on. And well, I have perhaps a bit strange suggestion that I might start a complete beginner on Emacs or another Lisp environment, because it has a REPL. You can start running code interactively and get immediate feedback on what's going on. And with Emacs, you kind of have something that you can create something that's useful to you right away, start hacking on it. I think this immediacy is something that's missing from many professional environments, even those that are considered beginner friendly, like Python and other things, though Python has Jupyter notebooks and things like that.
Yes, I would also agree that if you have to install, I don't know, 500 megabits or 5 gigabits of software and then try to get all the libraries, and that kind of is for a beginner maybe a huge step forward. It's not installing, I don't know, some video software. But what about Ardo then? Java and Hello World? Or what would be your suggestion for a beginner? Or have we lost Ardo?
Not yet. I was here lazily and in awe, just watching everything happening. This is great stuff. For beginner, well, yeah, it might be actually Java mainly, because there's 10 million coders around the world and such a huge amount of content, and Java has recently gotten a bit exciting again. So there's some improvements. It feels kind of relevant again. So why not? I also like pretty much all of the suggestions said here before. So for me, I think it's most important to find what you are using for. So the motivation comes from there. So when I was teaching some kids, their parents wanted unfair advantage when the kid grows to full age. So they bought a very expensive training course just for that one kid, and I was delivering that. So I had a problem because my exercise examples were like create banking software or discussion forum, and that kid was not into that. He was like 15 and thinking about how to buy the next motorcycle. So I figured out how to do some animation, and objects become tangible on the screen. So we started with bouncing ball, and then the amusement started, and he got really into it and managed to learn a lot.
Can you program drones or any other? I mean, Lego Mindstorm is here, but what are the other interesting stuff that you can code if you're as a beginner? Want to see something that it's not some banking data stuff somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and especially nowadays when you can easily tap into like Amazon audio command interfaces or stuff like that. We actually had a presentation on drone programming some years back in DevSappe, but I don't think that might be the place where you want to begin it, because the bugs have horrible consequences.
Yeah, and the drones are still too expensive to find them on the roof somewhere, and so.
Yeah.